Hi and welcome back everyone. I did a post a couple of weeks ago about a type of fermenting called bokashi. It's to make compost, and so many people wanted to know more about this and asked that I did a video, so here we go. So composting you can do in different ways. There's your more traditional methods. So over there I have more of a traditional composting box, which relies on oxygen. So the pathogens that are going in there and breaking down organic matter, which is basically what composting is, rely on oxygen. A traditional composting method is a composting pile. And the way in which you get that composting going is by turning it. And that turning is to introduce more oxygen for the pathogens so that they work more effectively to break down the organic material. Now, in your more traditional composting piles, you tend to just put green organic matter. It might be stuff from the garden, kitchen waste, but kitchen waste not including things like dairy, cooked food, anything oily, any meat, any fish. Some of that is due to rodents, because that will attract a lot of rodents, but it's also to do with you can get bad pathogens because there's not enough heat to kill those pathogens. So there's different ways of composting. So that's your more traditional method, and really it can take really closer to 12 months for that composting to be ready to be able to use it in the garden. Another form of composting in a big bin like that is hot composting. Now, hot composting is where you need this form of composting, you just kind of leave it to it. Hot composting, you need to keep an eye on the temperature, because you're wanting that higher temperature so it will kill off pathogens, and it will break down the material quicker. As a result, you can put in more types of food into hot composting. So you can put some dairy foods, some cooked foods, if you're monitoring it. And that's where you need to be more involved with hot composting. Typically you'd want a thermometer, and you want that temperature range between 45 and 65 degrees. Now, what creates the temperature is microbial activity. So that's the activity of those microbes that are breaking down that organic matter. Because they release energy and that raises the heat. Now, those microbes need oxygen. And that's why if you notice your temperature is dropping, then what you end up doing is you'll add a little bit of water, you'll mix it up, so it's aerating it, and that should then increase the microbial activity and raise that temperature, and then it gets breaking down that organic matter again. Bokashi, which I wrote about a couple of weeks ago, is different. Both hot composting and traditional composting rely on oxygen. It's oxygen feeding bacteria that are the primary microbes that are breaking down that organic matter. In bokashi, this is fermenting. So fermentation generally requires an environment devoid of oxygen. So these pathogens that we're relying on in here want an oxygen-free environment, and that's why this is a closed and sealed box. Much more than that, you can see there's a lot of holes in that box over there. You typically use a 2-box system. This one I finished filling 2 weeks ago, and it's been sat outside fermenting. That one I've just finished filling. Typically in my household We fill one over the course of about a week. Over the course of about 2 weeks. So the process is you layer your food in, but you need to add the microbes. So you have this thing called bokashi bran. Now bokashi bran, it's got like a molasses kind of flavour, a scent to it, because it has molasses, but it's been inoculated with bacteria. So there's live bacteria in this organic bran. So it's those microbes. That's why this is best to be kept in a closed container. It's slightly moist, so you want to keep it moist. And what you do is you layer your kitchen waste in here. You'll sprinkle on some of the bran, and then you close the box. You want to tamper down what's inside. You get a tamper when you buy these boxes to push it down. I'm not sure where mine is. I'm using a lid here. Because you want to get rid of all of the oxygen. And then over the course, you open the box. You want the box open a minimal amount of time because you want to avoid oxygen getting in there. So load it up, push it down, sprinkle it with bran. Load it up, push it down, sprinkle it with bran until it's full. Now this one is just about full. Not quite there, but so basically you just want to push it down. Sprinkle on some of the bran. And close it up. So that's still got a bit more room. I've got a couple more days of kitchen waste that can go in there. Now kitchen waste that can go in these is a lot more. Pretty much anything you can put in these. You can put in cooked foods, dairy, meat, fish, oil. So really you can put all organic matter into these bins. Pretty much nothing into your regular waste, and that means you're not getting any anything trying to get into your rubbish. It's one of the big problems over here, which is the seagulls and the foxes ripping apart rubbish. Back in Costa Rica it was the vultures and the dogs. Well, if you're not putting organic matter into your regular waste, then there's nothing to attract them. So these you want to keep closed, but you have got a little tap here because you want to drain off the liquid, because you don't want this to be wet. It's another thing when you're filling it, you know, just be aware of how much moisture is going in there, and drain it off regularly. Now what you're draining off is basically liquid feed. I've filled this up. Now this can be used in the garden. It's best to dilute it with a bit of water. And that's a liquid feed. So then what happens now is this one is full. As soon as this one is full, I'm going to empty that into my compost. This one will sit outside for 2 weeks and I'll start filling this one. 4 weeks in here and it can be ready to go straight onto the garden. I like to put it in here to break down further because the weird thing is it still resembles the food. Although it's fermented, this has been in here nearly 4 weeks. You know, a lot of it still resembles the food that went in there. So that's what I find, putting it into a regular composter then just breaks it down further. If you don't have a compost box like this, you can actually bury it in the ground, or if you've got a service with your local council who takes away this kind of waste, you can use that as well. So that's a bit more about different types of composting, in particular bokashi. Bokashi it comes from Japan. So if you've got any questions, then please just ask, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye.